Hi, I'm Gina.
Hi, I'm Julia.
And this is Scenes from the Couch.
I'm wearing my Tribeca Film Festival hat, which I brought down here in honor of our own film festival. You probably can't read it, but that's what this is.
And it's probably pretty dark. This video, it's late in the afternoon. It is 6:10 p.m. Coming to you from Blacksburg, Virginia. And
This is Scenes from the Couch?
yeah, I already said that.
Okay.
Just that this is, it's dark. It's about to rain. So I'm sorry. I don't feel like getting my ring light out and everything. So I'm just... Anyway, she's going to be doing most of the talking on this one because she's been doing research for the last hour or two. So I'm going to defer to her on this one. I will say whether I like it or not. I will interject occasionally, but basically this is all you. So go for it.
All right. So it was, like many... Okay, first of all, the film that we saw was Le Samouri in 1967, French hitman movie. And like many hitman movie, it's confusing all the way through. You're not meant to really know what the mystery is. And, they keep you guessing to, keep the suspense up. And then in the end, we had no idea what had just happened and the credits rolled. We had no idea. And Hi,
Buddy. If you could see Buddy right now, oh my God, he's got all his toys in his mouth right now and he's whimpering. It's adorable because he just got fed. Sorry, Julia, go nuts.
So, I didn't just leave it with like, okay, what in the world was that? I looked it up, and actually almost every reference I found was confused and had a lot of different theories, but none of them really made sense to me. And I finally found one person who seemed to figure it out. And so here it is. This is just nothing but spoilers. But if you didn't get these spoilers, you would have no idea what you just saw if you ever do watch this.
And if, it was when was it made?
1967.
So if you haven't watched it yet, it's not like it's a new release. So spoiling is okay because you have had how many years to watch it? 40, 50, like 70 years or something? Wait, what time did it come out?
It's been 57 years since the film came out.
Okay.
All right. So, Alain Delon, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name because it's French, plays the hitman. And there's this prostitute girlfriend in there played by Natalie Delon, who was his then wife. They were only married for 5 years, but this movie came out right in the middle of their marriage. They did have a son. Anyway, so besides that, there were other people in there that I didn't recognize at all. They may have been, well-known French actors, but...
Can I interject?
Go ahead.
My interjection is that, honestly, this is the best looking actor I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm trying to think of someone, Jude Law in his prime, maybe better looking.
In The Talented Mr. Ripley. That was the first thing I thought, is there's never been another more beautiful actor to look at.
Aesthetically beautiful.
Since he appeared on the scene, it was just like Jude Law in The Talented Mr.
Bone
Ripley.
structure,
Just
stunning.
a marvel to look at.
So this man, if you didn't care for the movie in any way in terms of his acting, which I thought was fine. I mean, basically,
the reason he uses a poker face in his apparently all of his movies is because he's too handsome. He can't just become too pretty by smiling or whatever. So he has to be completely poker face to be somewhat severe and masculine because he's too good looking. So that's why he always plays poker face.
Yeah, he's too good looking. Okay.
Very wonderful to look at.
So, I mean, really, it was like just drinking a warm mocha. It was just like, it's soothing to watch. And you're just like, can't believe that those kind of creatures exist on the planet. He's that good looking, honestly.
It's a mystery when you look at him. Like, why in the world is he so incredibly good looking? I can't even
what
put my
is it
finger
about
on it.
his face? Yeah, I mean, really, truly, I would say it's worth watching this movie just to see him.
Definitely.
Honestly, that is what this
Just
movie has in
watching
spades.
him, watching his face, that's all you need. You can turn off
Okay.
the sound, subtitles.
Yeah.
You don't even know what's going on.
Right, and so that's good. So we're done. So we'll see you next time. There's nothing else to say.
All right, so let me tell you about the movie anyway. So he is a hitman who was hired in a contract killing. He was witnessed after he did the killing, which the contract was he was a very highly recommended hitman who was very good at what he did, and so they paid him a lot to make sure that it was an untrackable hit with no witnesses. And what happened was he killed the guy that he was supposed to kill, and then there was a witness, and it happened to be all in a nightclub, and he killed the guy in his dressing room or something like that. And the performer at the nightclub, which was this beautiful woman who was playing the piano, and she happened to be going to her dressing room right when the guy got killed, and she came out to see what's going on. And from only like 3 feet away, she saw the hitman and looked at him, and he looked at her. They stared at each other, and it was obvious that she knew that he had done it, and he knew that she knew, and everybody knew that he had, it was no longer the untraceable killing. And so what happens next is then the police get involved, and there's a lot of people that you didn't expect to be involved, which is really kind of beside the point. So I won't mention all of them, but there's like a huge crowd of people that are all getting a lineup of 40 men who fit his description, which the description from her was he was a tall young man in a trench coat. Like, you didn't mention that he was also incredibly handsome, and then so they get like 40 men who were tall young men in trench coats. And so
and he's like the only good-looking man there.
they're all
in the lineup
except for him. So besides her, they also had 5 or 6 other people from the nightclub that were all like supposed to say yes or no to every one of the people in the lineup. And a few people besides the pianist said yes or no. And when it came time for her to say yes or no, when he was on the stage in his turn, she said no, it's definitely not him. And of course you're like, what? Right. Why did she just say no? She obviously knows it's him. So,
but there were other people that were in the nightclub that saw him that also said no. So
right.
You started realizing that there were people in the nightclub that actually were in on the murder.
Some of them actually knew. I mean, there was a mix of people who
were in on the hit
to have been in on this. And in the course of the police investigation, they also were looking for his alibis because they determined he was, a prime suspect, and they were checking his alibis. And one, which he had specifically, timed to be an alibi, was his prostitute girlfriend. She's like a high-class call girl that, men go to see in her nice room. And so he had told her in advance, if anybody asks, I'm here from, 7:15 to 2 a.m. And then he found out she was going to be seeing another client at 2 a.m. So he's like, okay, make it 1:45. That's good enough. Because I guess he was going to be doing the killing around 2 or something. I don't know. And so when the police came to question her, she told him what she was supposed to tell him, which was an alibi. And then they found another alibi that, I don't know how they worked that out, but there was another alibi related to that corroborated that, he couldn't do it. But he was being questioned by people who knew he did do it because they were in on the masterminding of it. So nobody was getting away with these lies because they knew what really happened. So she wasn't fooling anybody. They knew she was covering for him.
But the fact that they knew she was lying meant that they knew, that they were implicating themselves by that, by knowing that she was lying.
Implicating themselves to who, though? I mean, they all were in on it.
All of the police?
Well, anybody in the room, nobody was being
Everybody in the police, everyone, yeah.
Okay, so the girlfriend covered for him, the pianist covered for him, and so, anyway, I don't know if I mentioned already, so a middleman came at an agreed point to pay him.
I'm here. You keep talking. I have to let Diva out. You keep talking.
Okay, so at some point during all this investigation, he goes to meet the middleman to collect his payment for his hit because he killed the guy. And the guy who comes with the money says, you were supposed to do this, the deal was you would do this in untraceable with no witnesses. and you were arrested. You were a prime suspect and you were arrested. And Alain says, yes. And then the guy says, a deal's a deal. And then he pulls out a gun, and they both pull out guns, and they have a scuffle, and the middleman gets away, and Alain is injured. And the next thing you know, he wants to know who was the guy. He goes to the pianist. Was it the pianist? He goes to the right. He does go to the pianist and ask her, like, why didn't you turn me in? Why didn't you say that you recognized me? And she didn't give a good answer. He gave a few guesses. And the next thing you know, he's back in his room, and the middleman turns up again, the one who had tried to kill him without paying him. And this time he says, there's a new contract. We've decided to go, use your services after all. And here's 2 million somethings in advance. And so it's like something has changed, and now they're not trying to kill him. There's a new contract, but they don't tell you who the contract is on. Well, he's not going to, but then somehow, I forget where in the movie, it might have been right then, he gets the name out of him. I don't know if he got it out of the pianist or if he got it out of him, but anyway, he gets the name of the guy who the contract was on, as well as the address, not the mastermind. He gets the name of the mastermind, the one who did the contract. And so he goes to the address, and he goes in and he kicks in the door, and it turns out he's in the upper story of the same house where the pianist lives. And you're like, okay, what just happened here? And so he's not quite sure, I guess, where he is. He looks down the stairs, he sees the piano downstairs, and he's like, oh, I see where I am. And then he goes and he barges into another room, and it turns out to be a guy I guess you haven't seen before. And you know that this is the guy who hired him for the first contract, and is also the same guy who's hiring him for the next contract, which you don't know who he's supposed to kill, but this is the guy, which is her husband, because it's their house. So he kills him. He kills the guy who is the mastermind of the whole thing, which was unexpected, I'm sure, for the mastermind to be killed. And then he goes to fulfill the contract. So, he takes his gun, and you're not sure who he's going to kill, but the next thing you know, he's going back to the nightclub, and he walks up, and that pianist is performing in the middle of the nightclub. And as he walks up to her, he pulls out his gun, and you're like, she's the one he was supposed to kill? The contract was on the wife now? And so he pulls out the gun, and before he gets a chance to pull the trigger, there's been a surveillance on him of like 20 cops, and they're all in the theater, in the nightclub, and they shoot him dead first before he gets a chance to kill her. And then he falls dead. And then they go up and they get the gun, and they look at it, they open up the gun, and they see there's no bullets in it. And they were like, what? He wasn't even going to kill her? And then the credits roll, and you're like, huh? Why? So the thing that I read online is basically that the whole thing is, the reason that this is called the Samouri is because samurais commit suicide if they've lost their honor. And so he lost his honor because when he killed the first time, he didn't do it cleanly. A witness saw him. And secondly, not only did he fail in his contract to fulfill, because he was really a perfectionist, he failed, and 2 women covered for him. They risked their own lives covering for him. And so he risked his life. Well, he didn't risk it. He committed suicide to save the wife, killing her husband, because he had a contract on her to save her life. She would not be killed. He also saved his prostitute girlfriend because she was being threatened because she wouldn't give him up. So he saved both of their lives by committing suicide.
Okay.
So that's it.
But none of it matters. You're just watching the movie to see him. There's nothing else to see.
Yeah, but it's nice to know that there's some meaning after all of that.
So now you know there's a meaning.
It's actually a nice meaning, in a way.
Yeah, and now I have to completely, as soon as we turn this off and I get back in my knitting chair and start with my phone again, I'm going to be looking him up, seeing what other movies he's in. I'm going to be just staring at his face. I want to see the progression of time on his face, what he looked like. Is he still alive? I don't even know this.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still alive. The latest picture I saw, he was a white-haired old man.
And I will say, you know, he smoked in it. And I
Smoked like a
started
chimney.
smoking.
But what else is new in, you know, French movies?
Well, I started smoking when I turned 16 because of all the beautiful people in Hollywood and in movies that were smoking. And just, I have not smoked in many years, but watching him smoke in this French film, there was a moment where I was like, oh,
Yeah,
I'd love to be
of course.
laying in bed in France with the billowing white, you know, the windows open and the wrought iron outside the window and the billowing sheets, and I'm young laying in the bed with a cigarette, you know, après sex or something, and I'm smoking a cigarette. It took me back to, you know, remembering that one of the reasons I started smoking was because that it looked so good. I mean, the beautiful people in film were smoking and they made it look so good.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, why I started, but it is disgusting. And you could tell, and like some part of this movie, that his bottom row of teeth were starting to get stained and kind of gross and kind of looking like a cigarette. I remember looking at pictures of him as an old man and he still had a cigarette in his hand. So he was smoking. He probably died of lung cancer. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll have to figure that out, how he died. If he died. If he's still alive, fine. But yeah, it was hard for young people in the past not to start smoking because of all the positive associations with the beautiful people. So
I would give this movie I don't know, maybe a 3.5 or 4.
I'm gonna
it
do
wasn't
4.
Great, but it was definitely worth watching.
It was beautiful. I mean, it was cinematically beautiful. He was beautiful.
Really, really enjoyable. It was a huge relief from the downers that we've been watching.
Yeah, we watched a lot of downers.
This is not a cult classic. This is I think this might have been some kind of a movie that won an international something, maybe an international Oscar. I don't know what it was, how it made on the list, but it was a highly rated foreign film. But not a cult classic.
Well, I enjoyed it, and I want to watch some more of his films. So that's that. Not on this trip. Not this week.
We only have so much time left. It's Thursday, and tomorrow's the last day of the festival.
Right.
Something's wrong with it. See, I tried to tune. This goes out.
Well, thank you for watching, and we hope you're getting something out of this. Really, we're doing these videos actually for us. I mean, Julia said, like, one person said something like, I'm going to watch this because you said something. And
One person liked what I had to say that explained a certain movie, and they said
Yeah,
they would watch it. So if that's the only thing that comes out of this, I'm satisfied. One person that I, converted to watch a certain movie. I was influenced.
So what we're saying is we're doing this, but if anyone actually likes these videos and gets something out of it, it's worthwhile. But really, we're hoping that we live into our 90s, and we would love to continue doing these videos, and we would love to actually, look back and see them. And
I don't know.
Okay. All right. We're going to wrap this one up. Okay. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow or later. I don't know. Bye.
See you later.